So following the unrest in KwaZulu Natal and racism allegations in the community of Phoenix, the area's organizations, including Abahlali baseMjondolo and the Phoenix Residents Association, say politicians are trying to disrupt their peace-building efforts. Tell us more about this. Let's bring in our guest. Thapelo Mohapi is the spokesperson for Abahlali. Martin Governder also joining us from the Phoenix Residents Association. To both our guests, thanks very much indeed for your time. It's lovely to have you on the program. Thapelo, I wonder if I can begin with you. How would you characterize what's actually taken place in Phoenix, given the many voices that have emerged since then?
Thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers. What is happening in Phoenix at the moment is unfortunate. It is taking us back to where we come from in the early 90s, where there was always tensions and violence within the province. But this is merely a thuggery and act of gangsterism that is taking place. To say that the Indian community is racist is unfortunate for those who are doing this, and this has been said by very prominent leaders in the province. Of course, we understand why some are doing this, because they want to achieve certain agendas that they want to promote. So we are saying as Abahlali baseMjondolo that we believe in humanity. We believe that a human being is a human being regardless of their race, their ethnicity, which country they were born from. We are saying that we recognize human beings, and we want to see peace and stability in KwaZulu Natal.
Yeah, I mean, Martin, is that a sentiment that you would echo? This is more than just racial tensions in Phoenix?
Hi, good morning, sir, and good morning to your viewers. Yes, no, definitely. It's a political mess-up that needs a political solution to this entire fracas that's been going on in Phoenix. There's various issues in terms of even the issue of lack of security when the riots broke out, and the mere fact that the political will and the will from the state to actually act timelessly. And we engulfed in the city with many corruption scandals in terms of housing, etc. So Phoenix was one of the areas that was actually engulfed in this political scandal, where senior leadership were involved in basically embezzlement of funds in the social housing regulator. So it's actually something that started off as a riot that has now turned on like basically racial undertones. Even fake news, the media is reporting all sorts of fake news, and you would find stuff that went on 2-3 months ago are now being regurgitated. And this is not doing any good to the community, and it's not doing any good in terms of race relations. I mean, we have a very, very strong relationship with Abahlali. The Indian community and the African community that reside in Phoenix we have membership that are actually, aligned to Abahlali. Abahlali has helped us. So this issue of politicians trying to basically rule and firstly divide us and then try to rule over us, needs to be stopped. We need to start seeing the bigger picture here, which is the divisions that are created along ethnic lines. 80% of the students that attend our schools are from the Bambai, the Amauti areas, and those are formerly, townships or squatter settlements. So by denying these kids an opportunity to education, you are actually, firstly, ruining the entire academic year. Secondly, how does one play catch up? We still got the pandemic of COVID to deal with, and education and teaching has not been taking place in the Phoenix and surrounding areas. So these remain challenges.
Yeah.
Politicians are fighting, but it's the people on the grassroots level, the citizens of this country, that is bearing the brunt. And, it's like enough is enough now. Come on, we want to get on with our daily lives. We want people to come into the community and feel as safe as possible as they can.
Right. Martin, if I can come in there, I hear you, but I don't imagine the message this morning is a complete disregard of whatever tensions exist between different racial groups, because whilst politicians have weighed in on this, residents have also spoken out in many ways through which they've been racially profiled, at least at times when there were barricades being set up in different areas of the community.
Yes, no, 100%. What I can explain, I have not really been part or privy to whoever's being racially profiled, because, I personally do not stand for some sort of situation where we know that we have residents of all ethnicities in Phoenix. And this issue of racially profiling people need to stop. And the other thing is, one must also take into cognizance that when these riots happened, it happened on the periphery areas, and people tried to penetrate. And this was not your looters. This was military insurgency. This was people that were fighting at communities, people that were trying to actually invade houses. So the community itself, I mean, the police, as I said, was inadequate. They were never on time. The police had, in the absence of the police, this is what happened.
Yeah.
You had total anarchy. Normal citizens just taking the rights into their own hands. And with the video circulating, you could see, basically the system had failed us. And you would, for example, where I live, the guys were actually cordoning off the area. And the thing is this, they were mostly 50% of the African guys and 50% of the Indian community. And both came up together and said, you know what, we're not going to allow our properties from being looted. So the bigger picture was people were also trying to protect their properties. And in that instance, you had some rogue elements, people in the community, and you had some unsavory incidents of racism. And this is not how Phoenix is. Phoenix is not an area where people, for example, now just decide all of a sudden one day to now start attacking people.
Yeah.
And these rogue elements must be dealt with adequately.
Got you. Thapelo, let me bring you back into the discussion. I mean, Abahlali have released quite the statement, quite frankly, reflecting on what's actually taking place in Phoenix. Part of the picture being painted there is that politicians are in some respects stoking the divisions. In fact, it's a sentiment being expressed already in our discussion. People watching from the outside might be asking, to what end, though, is that taking place? Can you help us answer that question?
Yes, yes, I understand. I mean, recently we had a statement that was actually giving a broad picture of what is happening right now with the looting that are taking place in KZN. And one of the senior members of the ANC circulated a statement that was changed, that was somehow against the Muslim community, as if Abahlali had released a statement that was against the Muslim community. So there are some leaders who go publicly sharing voice notes that are very concerning when it comes to issues. I mean, if you look at this thing, it started with somebody from Pietermaritzburg circulating a post on their saying that we must ban all the shacks because they are the ones that's where the looters are coming from. I mean, if somebody does that and it circulates, a lot of people on the ground start believing it and seeing it as if it is something that is happening.
Sure. There are still...
So some of the leaders, when a leader stands in a platform and speaks...
Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying that for as long as a leader stands, because people look up to leadership, and when a leader shares posts that are encouraging ethnicity, tribalism, and other things that are unnecessary, that are going to spare violence in the community, people tend to listen to that person because they believe that person to be that. So that's why we as Abahlali are taking a stand and saying that let's give guidance and leadership to our communities. For me, it's an emotional moment because I managed to be able to speak the English that I'm speaking today because of some of the skilled teachers who were coming from the Indian community. By the way, I grew up in Bambai, where my fellow comrades says where the violence has begun. We were working side by side with Indian community during the violence. In fact, we used to seek refugee in the Indian community in Phoenix in Unit 10, 11, 12. And there was never a time where we identified each other as African or Indian, and even at school. So today, to see this happening, it's very concerning. And I must say this. The majority of the community in Phoenix are against this. And some of the people who were in the groups, WhatsApp groups in the community, have been kicked out of because of their racial. So to highlight this as if it is the entire community of the Indian community that is racist, when the majority is actually not, and condemning what is happening in Phoenix, it would take us back, and that's why we as Abahlali are saying, let us isolate the few individuals that are actually painting this as if it's a racial tension. The police must deal with those who have killed people. The police must be present and be visible tomorrow as the schools open, because they are already circulating messages that our children who will be going to schools in Phoenix will be dealt with. So those are anarchists who are outside, they must be dealt with. But to actually root out and say that the entire community of Phoenix is actually targeting African people and profiling them and so forth, when they are people who are doing this as a result of the failure of the police to actually deal with the elements of criminality and gangsterism that is taking place.
That point is coming through loud and clear. I wonder whether, Martin, though, we shouldn't be careful to not slip into some kind of we don't see color conversations. I mean, the need to push for a clear reconciliatory message is there, and I think is indisputable. But the other extreme is also as dangerous, right? Where we get to a space where we don't acknowledge that people are different, may have differences, but that need not lead to lives being lost.
Yes, no, 100%. I mean, we all differ. We don't all eat the same foods. We don't all dress the same way. But I mean, we're human beings after all. Human beings first. And I think, you know, a lot of reparation has to be done on both spectrums. All communities need to come, need to interact. I mean,
what does that reparation look like, Martin? Sorry to come in there. Speak to me a bit more about that. What does that look like?
I would call, and I'm sure the Abahlali leadership will do likewise. We would like to call for a commission of inquiry that will now investigate this entire saga or entire riot and looting and unrest, and get down to the nitty-gritty of the entire episode that has been really had an immense impact on our lives. And obviously having recommendations come out of this and to build good race relations. I mean, no man is an island. We all are interdependent on each other. And we would like, obviously, government to now intervene, create a budget, create reparations for people that were breadwinners and lost their lives in the most callous ways in the community. And obviously try and see if we can build, restore, and move on as we were initially doing so. And already we have a huge unemployment crisis in this country amongst youth. The destruction of these industries, the economic sabotage will take years of actually coming to power in terms of creating a socio-economic viable system. So the issue is currently to try and build, forge unity, and get our key, what can I say, leaders involved, religious leaders, social services, the psychological services, the political leadership. As I said, this is a political mess-up that needs a political solution. We need all sorts of interventions, all stakeholders to come to the fore and say, you know, let's move on. Yes, we've been through this traumatic period, and it's time for us now to forge unity, because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, no man is an island. We still have to interact with each other. And let's not let politicians start to divide us. You know, as the message that our leader and comrade Thapelo has mentioned, that we are striving for unity, but in the midst of striving for unity, we are seeing all these unsavory elements of divisions, fake media, politicians coming up on podiums and platforms and dividing and coercing the community to engage in these acts of these politicians. I personally feel their social media accounts should be blocked. The very same way that Trump's social media was blocked in the US. when he tried to ensure that Capitol Hill gets actually invaded.
Gotcha.
So this is a type of activity that needs to stop, and it's not doing any good to forge unity.
No matter how you see what's taking place in Phoenix, it's quite clear that the events of the week gone by are quite complex and are multi-layered. One can only hope that some kind of solutions will be found rather sooner than later. For now, let me thank you for your time. Thapelo Mohapi, I beg your pardon. He's the spokesperson for Abahlali baseMjondolo, and Martin Governder joining us there from the Phoenix Residents Association. To both of you, once again, thanks very much indeed.